So my guest is Justin Hotchkiss of FarNorth Charters. And what's your website?
My website is farnorthcharters.com.
Okay. And Justin is a guide on the Upper Columbia River, right up by the Canadian border, which is, I don't know if it's the biggest trout stream in the world, but
Pretty
it's
close.
Yeah, if it isn't, I don't know what is.
The biggest one I fished.
Oh, Lord, it is big.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, compared to the, I don't know, the Lower Deschutes is probably like a third the size, or have you ever fished the Lower Deschutes?
I've never fished the Lower Deschutes.
Well, the Lower Deschutes is in real low water, you think, and you're wrong, but you think it's in spots, you might be able to cross it. I mean, this...
No.
Cripes.
You can't cross it anywhere without a ferry or a boat.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there isn't a spot that I saw where there wasn't at least a stretch that wasn't 30 feet deep, right, at least,
right.
or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just massive. But, you know, we were fishing in, it's late September, and the water was clear.
About 10 to 12 feet visibility,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah. I mean, we saw fish sometimes.
Yeah, you see them eat.
Way down there. Yeah. Yeah, well, like that one.
Yeah, your cutty.
That was amazing. Well, we caught some big fish, and I should mention that we caught fish not necessarily big for the Upper Columbia, but my wife outfished me again and got a 22-incher, fat 22-incher. It was, what do you think, 3.5 or
4?
Yeah,
4 or 5. Yeah, somewhere. It was 4 or 5.
It looked like a salmon to me.
Yeah. Steelhead, anyways.
Yeah, it was a hot fish too. That was something. So I got one that was 21 3/4. Just as usual, she beat me. But that cutthroat, because you've got so many different species in here. But I got to mention that one because that was so neat. This cutthroat was picking around and rising in the backwater, and I threw my fly out in front of him, and you had figured out that he was picking off flying ants. So you came up with a flying ant pattern, and he came right up to the ant. Turned away from it, got 10 or 12 feet away, and he was about 7 feet down, and I gave it one twitch, and he just spun around, came all that way back, and hit it right in front of all three of us. Yep. You and I and Carol just about broke into applause, and he wasn't a big one for the Columbia, but still, we got, he was what, 17 or something?
Looked like a 17, 18-inch cut.
Yeah.
Nice
So, I mean, most places, that's a dandy, but when you look at those fat 22-inch fish, I know you have much bigger than that.
Yeah.
What was the biggest you were telling me about that you've caught up here?
The biggest one that I've caught personally is about 15 pounds. It was 31 inches right in there.
God dang.
And football.
Oh, jeez.
It was a hen, and I figured she probably had 3 to 4 pounds of eggs in her.
Oh, wow.
Just by judging by the size of her belly and the scales and everything. So
wow.
She was a big fish.
And what did she take?
She took a streamer. She took one of those seal buggers that I tie up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, is that the one you were talking about, your bacon?
Yeah, it was on olive bacon.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah. Justin has a fly called the bacon, and it's a streamer that's hot here, and it's got it's very much like a woolly bugger, but it's got a big cone head. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to get whacked with that thing on the cast. And but it's sparklier, and it's an interesting fly. And brown. You don't see a lot of brown woolly buggers. You tie it in brown and olive, and what else?
And black.
And black. Okay, that makes sense.
And I started tying it purple for my dad this year, and purple does work too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had a guide tell us earlier this year, he's a purple fanatic, and he said purple's the new olive. He's just on the purple train.
Purple and pink.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in pink.
Right.
I've got one of my flies, a nymph, the Gabriel's trumpet, that in pink is occasionally just cleaned up on cutthroats, and that just seems so strange because how many insects are pink or purple especially.
Right. Yeah, I can see pink more than purple.
Yeah.
But who knows what they see?
Yeah. I don't know what we'll never figure out fish. I mean,
never.
Tell me, I find that like a good percentage of the time, imitating what they're eating is really the way to go, and it's the only way to catch fish pretty much, except for the kamikaze fish. But then another percentage of the time, you fish the most outlandish things, and that's what's really going to catch the most fish. Do you find that?
Oh, yeah, definitely, like your glow bug.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I fished a glow bug today and got a real nice, I've hooked a few fish on it. And that's just looks like a giant fish egg, at least the ones I was fishing. So yeah, that glow bug you mentioned, the ones I have are big, and they look like a fish egg. They're bright pink, and there's not a fish egg I'm sure, anywhere near that size in the river ever.
Not a half inch or 3/8
yeah.
egg in the Columbia River. Not anymore, anyways.
And yet it was really
it worked
quite well. Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it was.
Go home and tie some up. Actually.
Yeah, yeah. That egg surprises me. Well, listen, tell me what. Let's talk about your river. And now you most of your clients you book either through where we're staying here, great place, Lazy Days. It's called Lazy Days Retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And real nice people, great food. It's a bed and breakfast, and they have cabins and the whole thing. But you work through, sometimes you book through Lazy Days.
Correct.
They're out of Northport, and then you book on your own as well.
Yep.
But your clients often stay here, right?
Yep. There's not too many places to stay in Northport.
Yeah.
Art pretty much has the corner, the market cornered in Northport as far as lodging. He does offer the Lazy Days Retreats, which you guys are staying at, and the Columbia Cottages, which is in the town of Northport.
Oh.
And they are a set of 3 parkside cabins. So you kind of offer lodging for kind of wine and dine people at the bed and breakfast, or you can stay over at the Columbia Cottages. They start at $59 a night. The big one's $79 a night. So try to offer a little bit of lodging for everybody and everybody's budget. So. Yeah, great people to work with. And
yeah, no, we've sure enjoyed them.
Yeah,
and boy,
it's a great
food's
place
good.
to stay.
Food's good.
Yeah. Beautiful home. And,
yeah. Well, I was overlooking the water, and it is a beautiful house.
Right on the water.
So, I wanted to ask you about, now we're here in the 3rd week of September, and we've been fishing a lot of streamers, and then some dry fly fishing, and quite a bit of nymph fishing, and actually all of it's worked. But you were telling me that certain times of the year you just get these amazing hatches and rises, especially at sunset, right?
Yeah, June through July is probably our prime hatch season.
Like starting when in June?
The 2nd week in June, probably.
Okay.
After that runoff kind of starts to subside a little bit, and everything kind of starts settling down a little bit.
And through the end of July?
End of June.
Right, through. Oh, okay.
End of June. Is right when the caddis will start coming off.
Oh, that's when it really
when
gets
they
going.
really start going, and then then we got a drake hatch that starts in July.
That's a big mayfly.
Big mayflies, average size 10, and they'll go up until about the 1st of August. It's almost like clockwork, right at the 1st of August. The
mayflies will go that long.
Yep, and the caddis will start tailing off through that. August is our hottest month. So our caddis will kind of start tailing off at that first part of August.
Okay.
And the drakes go away, and August is kind of the dog days. There is still some fishing to be done. You catch a few fish here and there. You just don't see as many fish rising like you do June through July. And then about mid-September it starts picking back up, and we'll have pretty good fishing all the way through the end of October. We look forward to the October caddis that come off from right now. We've seen a few today.
Yeah.
We didn't see any yesterday.
Right.
We saw 4 or 5 today, which was...
Yeah, and then you saw a shuck in the water, and a half of one.
And a half of one.
We don't know what happened there, but something got a good deal out of it.
They ought to be on their way out, and that'll increase our dry fly fishing a little bit through the end of the fall here. But kind of the same program, streamer fishing in the morning, and that's probably where you're going to target your biggest fish. Is you'll catch them that first couple hours in the morning, and then from there it's nymphing and dries, and
So that October caddis, as you mentioned, if it's a western insect, and if you haven't seen it, it's kind of orange, fits the fall with Halloween, but it's a big insect. I don't know exactly the range, but it's got to get up to 1 3/4 just in the body.
Yeah,
the big ones.
Yeah.
So it's easy to imagine. I mean, you must have some.
Those wings that we saw today were pretty good size.
Yeah. So you probably have some pretty big fish come up for those, especially with the low light of after sunset.
Right.
Right. How big have you seen them come up?
We've seen some pretty big fish rise. We've caught some big fish on.
Like 22, 24,
26.
26.
2 weeks ago, we did catch a couple fish on dries on just big foam, Chernobyl style. We caught 2 fish on dries that were 26.5. So
wow,
they're there, and it's just I know it's a big river. They have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different things. They can go down to 45 feet and eat nymphs, or they don't have to sit up against the shore and eat stuff off the top. So it can be a pretty sporadic river as far as what they're doing and trying to figure out what they're doing. I think that's what a lot of people actually have a lot of problems with the river, and they'll fish it a few times here and there, and then one day they might do okay, and the next 5 times they're going to get skunked. Just because the fish have so many
much food such
and
diversity.
There's so much diversity in the system.
They can afford to be picky.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I think people should know is that this isn't like going to a little trout stream. You can't just come here with your waders and expect, because I could see that. You have to have a really serious seaworthy boat that can handle those massive currents. I mean, some of that stuff you were telling me sometimes you've seen a log sucked down by
and spit up 100 yards downstream.
So. See, I wouldn't want to have that happen.
It's you're not going to see a bunch of white water in it at a glance at it at this level, and fall time when the flows are low. I mean, you look at it and say, well, that's a lake, and it looks like a lake, but then, as you could tell when we fished today, you get in the upper currents, and you're kicking along at 7 to 10 miles an hour going downstream, and you got 300 yards of water all moving at that speed. So it creates a lot of hydraulics, and a lot of places you can get in trouble, especially if you're in a little boat. Yeah,
I don't think I mean, your boat is how long?
It's a 20-foot boat.
20-foot boat. Yeah, I mean, it's solid as a rock. It's I'd take that on the ocean.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Without a moment's hesitation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, people should be warned that this is not a place to just bring your waders or your little tiny boat and expect to fish it. Because the other thing is, it's not an easy river from what I can see. Most of it to fish from shore.
It's not.
We fished almost entirely from a boat.
90% of the shore line is eddy. I mean, you're looking at big, gigantic eddies. This time of the year, not so much, and in spring, not so much because low flows. But summertime, there's not really even any shores left. The water's all the way up to the tree lines, and if you're not up against a tree line, you're on a cut bank that's at a 45-degree angle, and you got a 6-foot back cast behind you. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity for bank fishing it. Springtime would probably be the best time to come up and try to bank fish it.
Okay. But I mean, even access, it looks to me, would be pretty hard.
It's all private. Your access is here in the town of Northport at the boat launch. And then we have the Black Sand Beach, which is upstream about 8 miles, and that's a state access. And those are the only 2
that's
access points.
Pretty tough to get around. Yeah. But if you want to come up, and if you really know what you're doing, and I want to say people should really know what they're doing to go out in a massive river like that with those kind of currents and the things that are, the problems that could come up. But probably wiser to get somebody with a captain's license who's a professional guide like you, and
show them around. And there's lots of structure in the water too. I mean, just there could be 2 feet of water over something that you would not even have any idea that was there, and all of a sudden you're in 30 feet of water, and I'm in 3 feet of water now. So once the lake fills up and the level comes up, it hides a lot of stuff that you think, that's just one big giant trough through here, when really it's not.
No, we saw some of that. It'd be a big rock just coming up out of nowhere and almost touching the surface, but just out of sight.
Or come around a corner and you got a rock bar that sticks out, and all of a sudden you're in 2 feet of water. And
it'd be good to know the river, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, Justin, it's been a pleasure fishing with you and a pleasure chatting with you, and we will definitely see you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure fishing with you, and I hope you come back again.
That would be
great. I'd like to come over and do some saltwater fishing with you. So
do that.
Yeah.
Do that. We'll get
I would like to do that.
Some sea runs and some black rock fishing and all that stuff. And all right then.
Sounds fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bet.